Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well, and welcome back to Voicenotes with Jordan Theresa. How is everybody doing today? Coming at you from a slightly gloomy day, but I don't mind because I just love doing this podcast so much, guys. I'm having such a fun time, and you guys seem like you're having a fun time too. Like, I feel like we, especially over on YouTube, if you listen to this on Spotify, still love you anyway, or Apple Podcasts or whatever major podcast platform. But I don't know, there's something about YouTube. It just feels like we've got a real community feel going on over here, and I just want to let you guys know. I won't harp on for this for too long because I know it's not the most entertaining thing in the world, but I just want to let you guys know that I'm really absolutely loving doing this so much. And thank you so much for all of the love on the recent episodes. Like, I'm so happy. I'm so glad that it's going down well. I'm so glad you guys are liking the consistency. Thank you guys so much. I'm having so much fun. If you ever have any episode suggestions, obviously leave them in the comments on YouTube and on Spotify. I read them all. Also love the positive response to my dream of becoming a dating columnist. Thank you. We'll make it happen. How do you even do that? Oh my God, that was like such like influencer brain rot. Like, oh, I want to become a dating columnist. So, like, how do I do that? But honestly, guys, I think I might be Gen Z's Carrie Bradshaw. Just saying. Carrie Bradshaw, justice for Carrie Bradshaw, because she's getting so much shit on social media recently, and it's so interesting. I think it represents a very interesting turn that we are at with the way that we consume TV shows and how that intersects with sort of the like moralizing of everything. Like, and what I mean by that is, I talk about this a lot, but I feel like the prime example for how like gung-ho people have gone for, moralizing, essentially, I don't think that's the right word, is people's reaction to cheating scandals, and how like I've recently seen recent discourse that cheating should be illegal. I think we all need to fucking relax. I think we all need to. And look, I've been cheated on before. Horrible. I'm not just gonna sit and die on the hill of defending cheating, but also, it's so interesting how people view things in such a black and white manner, of things are either good or bad, and like people aren't allowed to make mistakes as well. And I think that a lot of that sort of moralizing has seeped into the way that we consume media, where now I think that people want their characters to be perfectly moral, good characters, but I don't know how to tell you that, number one, nobody is like that in real life, and I think that these shows need to have a sense of realism and relatability. I guess the problem is with relatability is that no one wants to feel like they relate to the character that everyone dislikes. Life is more peaceful when you relate to characters that people dislike, or not even, just when you accept that you are slightly like characters that you dislike. For example, I love the show Girls. I could sit here and say, I'm a Shoshana, I'm a Jessa, I'm a Hannah. Guys, look at the job that I do. This job, as much as I love it, that you have to have a real element of narcissism to do what I do. And sorry, but that is just Hannah through and through. Also, she has OCD, and the episode of Girls about OCD is probably the best OCD representation I've ever seen in media. But anyway, so we've sort of come into this point of TV show and media consumption where our characters have to be like morally good to enjoy the show, or morally good to like that character. And it's kind of annoying. Like, I'm sorry, but Sex and the City would be boring if we didn't have the most messy main character of all time. And I'm not saying that we aren't allowed to criticize her, but people saying that Sex and the City should have been about Samantha. No, it doesn't work. And I feel like that also leads into, I want to make a whole podcast episode about how the plot twistification of TV is rotting our brains, and how like everyone always expects everything to be connected, everything to be a plot twist. I'm referencing to sort of the response and reception to The White Lotus season 3. I basically want to talk about, like, was The White Lotus season 3 as bad as people said it was, or are people just like mining TV shows for plot twists? Yeah, really, it just makes me think. But yes, being as nobody wants to take the title of Carrie Bradshaw at the moment, I will happily take her. I want to be Gen Z's Carrie Bradshaw. How do I get a dating column? Who knows? But anyways, I do want to make a podcast episode about, like, again, another one about dating, but more like about dating advice. I want to call it like TikTok dating advice is an echo chamber of misery. Like, sorry, it's a zingy title, I can't lie. But yeah, no, I'm like working on some really exciting stuff right now, working on a new video with Leanne. So what I really like about having a researcher Leanne, is that my videos, the way they start out is they used to start, well, used to do everything myself, right? And now I start out with sort of a base idea. Leanne researches, comes back with the research, and then when I read through the research is when I start sort of putting pieces together. So originally the film, the video essay was going to be about like whether reality TV can ever be ethical. Oh my God, guys, guess whose article inspired me? Serena Smith, that diva. I read an article from Serena Smith about whether reality TV can truly ever be ethical. And I feel like that would be, sorry, I'm picking up my microphone. I feel like that would be like the magnum opus of all of my reality TV content, because I've been making videos about reality TV for years. So it'd be really interesting to sort of amalgamate, is that the right word? Like put together all of my knowledge of reality TV that I've learned over the years. But I was reading through Leanne's research, and I believe it was a Substack essay from Tell the Bees about like the sociology of begging someone to marry you. And it made me think a lot about how so much of social media shows lie on the crux of so many women's desire to get married. So I essentially want to come at it from that angle of like women and marriage and like the construct of marriage, and like why as women do we desire to be married so much more than men, or at least seem a little bit more like when we watch these shows like Love is Blind, the women seem to be a little bit more in a frenzy, right? And the thing is that, you know, Love is Blind isn't the only show that preys on women's desire to get married. There's also Married at First Sight, obviously. There's The Ultimatum. Whenever I say The Ultimatum, I feel like I'm saying The Ultimato. The Ultimatum, new season of The Ultimatum Queer Love, I will be watching. The last season was so good. But yeah, no, that's what I'm working on right now. And today I'm going to research and write a mini video essay for my Instagram Reels about the BlackBerry curve, because guys, the inception of the BlackBerry phone is so interesting. I actually learned about it from this film called BlackBerry, which I absolutely love and adore. And it's essentially about the inception of the phone, because I had no idea that BlackBerry was like the first ever phone to have the internet on it and that you could like read your emails on. It really changed the game. And then Apple swooped in, and, you know, I think they used to control 40% of the market, and now they control obviously 0% because they've gone under. It may be a slightly dreary and gloomy day for June. Happy June, everyone. But something that I wonder if you guys feel the same way, that I kind of appreciate about these gloomy days, is that I can whip out some clothes that aren't super summery, that I haven't worn in a while. I get so many questions about this jumper. It's vintage, Vivien's vintage. It's from this brand called Blue Collection. I absolutely love this jumper. It is perfect. I wear it all the time. And then let me show you guys these. First of all, I've got a Cou Cou Intimates little vest top on, little pink vest top. And let me show you guys my new bottoms. So, well, they're not new actually, but I got them tailored recently, so they aren't dragging on the floor. These are from Karla Laidlaw, which is an Australian small brand. And they're basically like these yoga pant trousers. And you can like do them up high-waisted if you want. Basically, the waist is adjustable. And they're just so flattering. Like, my butt looks massive in them. I'm kidding, but they're so flattering. And they're really comfy because they're sort of like yoga pant material. I'm like so obsessed. So that's what I kind of like about today's weather, that I can wear an outfit that I haven't worn in a while. So what have I been up to recently? Guys, I have fantastic news. I wasn't as messy at Gala as I thought I was. So I have spoken with many people, not in the anxiety OCD way where I've been like, how was I last night? No. We don't do that anymore. We just accept that last night happened, and that me asking for reassurance from my friends isn't going to make me any less anxious the next time that I'm hungover. Take that with you, girls. Also, by the way, when I say girls, that includes everyone. That includes the girls, the men, the gays, the days. Okay, it's gender neutral. But I didn't go asking, but I was sort of saying like, oh God, I was really cringing over like, I was a bit like messy on Saturday, wasn't I? Every single person has been like, no, you weren't. Like, and I got the final seal of approval from James. So Scarlett messaged me, I was messaging Scarlett the next day, and she was like, oh my God, like not at all, blah, blah, blah. But you know when like your girls just have to have your back no matter what. But James, I went for lunch with him, me and my friends went for a little Sunday lunch, and James was there. And James was like, oh my God, no, like not at all. Like, because me and James spent like nearly the whole festival together. Guys, girl who knows everything's gonna be okay. I'm a girl who knows it's gonna be okay. But what did I get up to on the weekend? First of all, okay, this isn't the weekend, but this is after the weekend. I did my first ever bar class. Sorry, what the fuck? Oh my God. So my sort of whole thing at the moment is that I want to get some exercise in. I just do. I do walk a lot, but I want to get some general fitness in. I want to build my strength. I want to build my core strength. I just think it's good for me. Not only is it good for me, you know, endorphins wise, not runners high, but like exercise high, etc. But also, you know, when Jack's away a lot this summer, and as much as going for dinner and drinks with my friends is my hobby, there are some evenings where I don't want to go out for dinner. I just want to go home. But even then, I've still got like 3 or 4 hours, and I go to bed so early, guys. I get into bed at 9 p.m. and I fall asleep at 9:30. But I've still got like 3 or 4 hours like by myself, and it's kind of boring. So I wanted to have something that would be like part of my routine, and my girls have been, and the thing is, so I went for a mat Pilates class, and I didn't really rate it. I didn't feel like I was like working hard enough. Like I wanted like a tougher workout. And my girlfriends Holly and Kitty were like, oh, you need to try bar. So I tried bar, and oh my God, wow, it was it was a lot. I saw someone say that they do not know what people who do bar are training for something that we all don't know about, and it's so true. It was the most intense workout class I've ever done in my life. I could not lift my arms above my head yesterday. My body was so achy, but I've only rebooked myself for a class on Friday. Yeah, I want to go back. I was the worst person in the class. If you are someone who you have fear of exercise classes because you think you're going to be the worst one, don't worry. I am the worst one in that class. And it really is not that bad. It's not that embarrassing. Do you know what I mean? Everyone has to start somewhere. And I was like the worst in the class. I kept having to sort of start and stop because like it was very, very challenging. But like the instructor was absolutely fine with me sort of stopping and starting a little bit. I wasn't like taking long fucking extended breaks or anything. But you know, I was having to like start and stop a little bit because like I just could not hold the positions for super long enough. I couldn't even balance on the ball. Do you know what I mean? There's this ball that you're supposed to balance on with your toes. I could not balance on it at all. So you know, I'm like a total beginner at this. So just know that I did it and it was absolutely fine. It wasn't anxiety inducing. I got proper good workout in. I literally ached for like 2 days afterwards, and I sort of wanted that. I'm still aching a little bit today, and I've got another class tomorrow, which even though I know it's going to be hell, I'm really looking forward to it. Like, have I finally found a workout that I don't like, but something that I actually want to go back to? It's one of those ones where I want to go back to it because I can feel it like working, right? But anyways, that was my Monday plan. Let me tell you about my wholesome weekend. Oh, guys, I had such a good wholesome weekend. The healing powers of platonic love. Oh my God. So my friends Elena and Morik had a barbecue and it was wonderful. I went ham in the M&S dip section. M&S for days. Went for a little Sunday lunch with my friends that I usually go for Sunday lunch with. We have a little Sunday lunch club. It's so cute. And we went to the Camberwell Arms, which I will say, I think I chose the wrong main. I went for the steak, and I think that I should have gone for the pie, IMO, in my opinion. But we had this amazing, it was like beer, onions and cheese on toast, which was sort of like a French onion soup on toast moment. And these like amazing tomatoes with grated cheese and shallots. And they do this amazing bread as well. We'll say they don't give you any olive oil or butter with the bread. That's insane. Sorry, you guys, there was postman at the door. But yeah, no, and the food was so good, and it was just wholesome. It was just something about being able to see my friends loads and then not feeling like I'm going to die on Monday. Like, who knew it was possible? Like, is my prefrontal cortex developing? I feel like there's a few signs at the moment where I feel like the my brain it's cooked. Like, it's done. Like, I not only am I capable of seeing my friends without being severely hungover the next day, but also I no longer hate the way that I look without makeup on. I know. And the thing is that at first I thought, I was like, damn, this road glazing milk's really good. I actually don't want to give the road glazing milk too much credit, even though it is amazing. Yeah, I literally barely wear makeup unless I'm recording or unless I'm like seeing friends, but like at lunch, Sunday lunch club, I didn't wear any makeup. Look at me. But yeah, no, that was like my wholesome weekend. I had such a nice time. And now it's Glastonbury prep is underway. I've planned my outfits. I'm going to make like a little Instagram reel. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure you go follow me on there and on TikTok. I'm going to do like a help me choose my outfits, because there's like a few bits and bobs where I don't know what outfits to choose. But yes, shall we get on to my thoughts of the week? I'm kind of loving that Thoughts of the Week has stuck, because the thing is that I think everyone should do this regardless if you have a podcast or not, because it's really good to log your thoughts, because sometimes my Thoughts of the Week, I forget them until I open, sorry, I've read them and I start laughing. I forget about my Thoughts of the Week until I've opened my phone. So, Thoughts of the week of the 31st of May, 2025. Number 1, it's finally getting ready naked weather. So, okay, apart from today where it's gloomy and it's a little bit chilly, I see everyone raving about the sun, raving about being able to sit outside, pub garden, how amazing London is in the summer. Nobody talks about the absolute pleasure of being able to get ready naked in the morning. Being able to like do my skincare and full glam just with my dressing gown like slung around my waist. Because obviously I'm not going to sit on the floor bare with my bare butt, like that's insane. But I have my dressing gown on after the shower, and then when I get ready I'm like, oh god, it's a bit hot in here, and I just take the dressing gown off and I put it around my waist, and then I do my full skincare, and it's just delightful. Like, I have been praying for times like these. Number 2 is the Victoria Line made a deal with the devil, a functioning and efficient tube line, but at the cost of breathable air. I don't know whether, again, I've just gotten older and I have less tolerance to it, but the Victoria Line has gotten claggier and claggier as the years have gone on. Like, it used to be like the Central Line, everyone used to be like, oh god, Central Line, it's so hot there, blah, blah, blah. The Victoria Line is making the Central Line run for its money, but I personally think the key difference between the Victoria Line and the Central Line is, number 1, the Central Line is just a bit more depressing. You know, those tinted windows aren't doing it any favours, and the carriages need to be revamped. I'm pretty sure the carriages have been revamped on some of them, but I have never been on a new Central Line tube carriage. The Victoria Line, it's a bit smoother, it's a bit swankier, and also I have found that the Central Line is subject to more delays. Meanwhile, the Victoria Line always runs smoothly. I experienced delays on the Victoria Line, I think, twice in my entire life, and I used to take the Victoria Line every single day when I was a beautician. So I've been using the Victoria Line since day one, since day dot, since I was young, and I've only ever experienced delays on the Victoria Line twice. So that is something, no? But at what cost? At what cost? It's so hot on there. And the thing is that I see a lot of people arguing. Well, not a lot of people arguing. I once had a conversation with one person where they said to me, the reason why the tubes are so hot in London is because there's no way of installing an air conditioning system on the tubes without making the platforms really hot, which like makes sense. Like, that does make sense. But the thing is that, like, and let's say like lines like the Elizabeth line, the Metropolitan line aren't as underground as like the Victoria or the Central line. I get it. I do. I'm not here to argue against that. But I think that we are giving the government too much credit, because this country is just not built to withstand any kind of extreme weather, especially extreme heat. As in, like, the buses aren't even air conditioned. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's hell out here. It's horror. You have to be a certain type of person. So, I mean, this isn't me complaining about the Victoria Line, because I do think it is like the most efficient, superior line. Although, you know, I can think that a tube line is efficient and superior and it not be my favourite. Shout out Metropolitan Line. I love the Metropolitan Line. Taking the Metropolitan Line feels like a luxury. But I still have lots of respect for the Victoria Line, and I do believe it is the most efficient line. I mean, to be fair, speaking of like gorgeous weather, even though it's not gorgeous weather today, something about getting the London Overground in the sunshine. unmatched. Reading my book on the London Overground in the sunshine. Life doesn't get better. And then my last thought of the week is tank-hair vest tops are the modern day version of being laced up in a corset. I don't think I've ever worn a top as tight as the tank-hair vest top. And this is the thing, is that I feel like I'm being gaslit by people who say they really like the tank-hair vest top. So I got a tank-hair vest top so if you haven't heard, sorry, let me actually start from the beginning, give you guys some context. So tank-hair is an American brand. It's pretty expensive, but the quality is really good. What I will say is that the tank-hair vest tops are made of polyester. I don't know, see, this is the thing, I'm not knowledgeable enough on, garment, garment materials and what garments are made of to say whether something being made of polyester is good or bad, because making something out of cotton also has its damages for the environment. Do you know what I mean? But tank-hair, they have these vest tops that are very famous because they're super, super thick and they really snatch. You don't have to wear a bra with them, and they're really good quality. So I got a couple of tank-hair vest tops in size small, and they're too small. I am I'd probably say I'm a size 10, maybe an 8. I'm bounced between an 8 and a 10, but on the bottom, I'm a 10. And because I'm in my little long tops era at the moment, I'm finding that the only long tops that I can wear are looser ones, like this jumper or this top here, because my hips are a lot wider than the top of my body. Like I say, I'm an 8 on the top and a 10 on the bottom. So I find with tight tops is that they just roll up all the time. And then if I get one in a size up, it's too big on the top. Oh God, guys, the struggles. I'm only joking, but that's the problem I run into with clothes. So with the tank-hair vest tops, I thought I just got a size too small. I thought I must have just gotten a size too small. So then I end up finding a medium-sized one on Depop for 50 quid. So I was like, okay, let me buy it. It's too much material. It's too big. So I'm like, okay, so who do these tank tops work for? I mean, they work for teeny tiny girls, I'm assuming. I feel like I've been gaslit into thinking that these tops are good. They are so tight. They are so uncomfortable. I can occasionally wear the white one, but I have to make sure I'm wearing a very loose pair of trousers. And sorry, but the juice just isn't worth the squeeze on this one. And it literally feels like you're being laced into a corset. No. And recently I've discovered, guys, new tank top alert. I've discovered a new vest top. I'm wearing the baby pink one that I'm wearing today is from Cou Cou Intimates. Let me lift up my top and I can show you guys. It's simple. Oh God, wait, have I got a bra on? Yeah, I do. Sorry. Sorry, I'm these tops are quite sheer. You can't not wear a bra with them if you have big boobs. But I've got these little tank-hair vest tops on. They're still a little bit snatched without being super, super tight. And I bought the black one and I loved it so much that now I have it in 3 different colours. Because, simple tank tops, they just never go out of fashion, do they? But, yeah, no, I've been layering that one with the grey one and I love the way that it looks. But, yeah, that's my thoughts of the week, is that I feel like I've been gaslit into thinking that those tank-hair vest tops are good. But in today's episode, sorry, it feels like an extra long intro. Someone left a comment the other day saying, very long intro, but it's okay. Thank you. That's the vibe that I'm going for over here. But in today's episode of Voicenotes with Jordan Theresa, I wanted to talk about this concept, this social media trend, which, to be fair, it's past, but I also do feel like it's the best way to look at any social media trend is in hindsight, is let everything play out first before you chip in, so you have everything to look at right in front of you. But I want to talk about male gaze fashion. If you have been on TikTok, you may have seen this trend. I actually discussed this trend in my video about Nora. And this episode is actually inspired by, I watched a YouTube video by Phoebe Taylor. She called it the demonization of sex in contemporary fashion commentary or culture or something like that. It's a good video. It inspired this video. Oh my god, she actually shouted me out and I literally went, ah! Sometimes I'm watching a YouTube video and they mention me and I go, ah! But what I saw trending on TikTok last year was dressing for the male gaze versus the female gaze. And it will be a young woman and she'll do dressing for the male gaze, and it will be tight clothing, short skirts, a lot of skin on show, heels, or some sort of chunky boot. And then the second outfit will be the second like outfit or like selection of outfits will be like versus dressing for the female gaze. And it will be a lot of like baggier clothing, a lot of sort of clothing that's quite, I guess, flamboyant in a way, like a lot of like Ganni, like large collars and puff sleeves and, flat shoes, chunky, like sort of trainers or maybe boots. And yes, so these are sort of the TikToks that I'm seeing last year. And I found it so interesting. And it wasn't just this, it was people also making TikToks comparing when they dressed for the male gaze versus now that when they dress for the female gaze and like how different it looks. And again, it followed the same format of the male gaze, tended to be skimpier, more skin showing, tighter outfits. And then the female gaze tended to be looser, flowy, baggier, more flamboyant with like the collars and the puff sleeves, maybe more colorful outfits as well. Was dressing for the female gaze. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I've spoken about this before in my video essay about Honora, but I wanted to dive into this idea of, essentially male gaze fashion, the male gaze and the female gaze as a TikTok trend, just a little more casually over on the pod. That's what the commentary is about over here. I always get a little bit self-conscious that the commentary is a little too casual over here. Like sometimes I feel like I'm not contributing that much, but also like you girls like it. So I'm like, it's okay. Like people do like it, but sometimes I put a bit too much pressure on myself where I'm like, I want everything I do to be super intellectual and smart and and it's like, you know what? Like I feel like this podcast, I more want to position it as like, if you were to have this conversation with a friend and you've both only done a bit of light research on the topic, do you know what I mean? So firstly, what is the male gaze? So the male gaze was coined by Laura Mulvey in 1973. I'm actually going to quote my own video for this because I've already done most of the work for this podcast episode, which is fantastic for me. The male gaze was introduced by Laura Mulvey in her 1975 essay. Oh, I don't know why it says 1973. My mistake. 1975 essay, Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema. And this essay argues that the power imbalance and inequality between men and women in society was not just reflected in the content of film, but within the film form and visual style. Leanne broke down key points made in Mulvey's essay. So again, oh my God, I'm quoting my old video, but then quoting Leanne's research. We've got a little bit of quoteception going on. So to quote Leanne's research, some of Mulvey's key points are, oh my God, sorry, my doorbell's going off like crazy. The way I'm like getting annoyed that my door's going off, but it's like I'm the person that's ordered all these parcels. But to quote Leanne's research, some of Mulvey's key points are: female performers were highly sexualized and given a quality of to-be-looked-atness. Male performers controlled the story and responded to women as spectacle with an active erotic gaze. This division of labor on screen transferred to spectators, assuming male visual pleasure. Film language itself, framing, lighting, camera angles produced this way of seeing. In essence, Mulvey argued that traditional cinema tends to objectify women, presenting them as passive subjects to be viewed and desired by active male protagonists and spectators. But since this point, the male gaze has evolved, and at least on social media and within social media spaces, is more often actually applied to society as a whole rather than cinema and like the media that we consume. So one example being the concept and the idea, and almost I guess it's a theory, right, of the internalized male gaze. So this is a theory that as women, through socialization within patriarchy, we all internalize the male gaze. And people often cite this Margaret Atwood quote from The Robber Bride when describing the internalized male gaze. Male fantasies, is everything run by male fantasies. Up on a pedestal or down on your knees, it's all a male fantasy, that you're strong enough to take what they dish out or else too weak to do anything about it. Even pretending you aren't catering to male fantasies is a male fantasy. Pretending you're unseen, pretending you have a life of your own, that you can wash your feet and comb your hair, unconscious of the ever-present watcher peering through the keyhole in your own head, if nowhere else. You are a woman with a man inside watching a woman. You are your own voyeur. Now that is absolutely fantastic. But it's important to note that the origins of the term male gaze is, as far as I'm aware, it was never intended to be applied to individuals. It's, it exists. Laura Mulvey created it to be applied to cinema, and the way that men create films, the way that women are portrayed in films, and the way that that is then fed to audiences and spectators, which then further reinforces the sort of sexist notions that women are just objects to be consumed and desired, and that we don't have thoughts or dreams or wills of our own. But I don't think it was ever really supposed to be applied to individuals, and especially as something inside of us which governs our actions. But this isn't me saying that I'm disagreeing. I agree with male gaze theory. I do agree that we do have, because of the way that we are socialized, we do have some sort of internalized male gaze. That is something that I completely agree with. But this theory has very notably bled out into the TikTok fashion space, which is really interesting, with these sort of male gaze versus female gaze outfits, dressing for the male gaze versus dressing for the female gaze, dressing to look snatched is ruining your outfits, or this idea of dressing for the girls, this is an outfit for the girls. And as I mentioned earlier, what makes a male gaze outfit is form-fitting, showing skin, flattering, feminine, heels, heeled boots, etc. What makes a female gaze outfit, loose-fitting, baggy clothes, which men would sort of typically find unattractive. But that's not always true. But anyways, long skirts, tops with large collars, flamboyant clothing, mixing colors, prints, and textures, and flat shoes. Now, I want to make it very clear that I completely understand the intention behind this trend, and I do believe that it is very well intentioned. We all know this here, but as women, we are essentially pressured as soon as we're out of the womb to appease the men in our lives. And one of the ways of appeasing men is through the way that we dress, and that we are socialized to want to dress to look attractive towards men. And what we mean by that is that as, little girls, we are pressured to dress femininely. I grew up as a massive tomboy. I'm not sure whether I've ever dropped that law before. I used to be a really, really big tomboy. I used to wear boys' school trousers to school. I was a full-on tomboy. And I remember it was interesting. My tomboyishness was sort of a topic of conversation, I remember. And I was put under pressure by not by my relatives, but my extended relatives, not my immediate relatives, grandparents buying me dresses and skirts and saying, oh, why don't you wear this? Why don't you wear that? So you are put under pressure to dress femininely, and that probably is related to the fact that men find women that dress femininely more attractive. And I'm sure that plenty of women who have partaken in this trend are people who were bullied for not dressing femininely enough, or have been insulted by men based on the way that they dress, or have just been insulted by people in general for not conforming to conventional beauty standards or something along those lines. I think at least once in our lives we have all felt a certain type of pressure to choose the outfit which is more flattering, quote unquote flattering, and more feminine over the outfit that we are actually more comfortable in, because we want to be perceived as attractive and we want to be perceived as feminine. And, I understand where people are coming from when they sort of embrace this trend. This trend is almost a form of reclamation in a way. And I also think it's really important as women who function under patriarchy to question why we do the things that we do, and to really question whether we actually want to do something or whether we feel pressured to do something because we are functioning within patriarchy. But there are sorry, it's really chucking it down. It's very peaceful vibes, I can't lie. But there are many things that I do not like about this trend. Before we get into it, and I think that this trend is a direct symptom of the fact that true counterculture cannot take place on social media. I spoke about this in my video about the digital divide. It's not that true counterculture can't take place on social media, but rather true counterculture can't take place on social media and be rewarded by social media algorithms, because the two just don't go together. I am going to quote from my old script of that video. Sorry, I'm truly outsourcing the work for this podcast episode to my old self. Because of our current short form, fast paced content economy, economy, for anything to survive and be pushed out by this algorithm, it must be squashed, shortened, simplified, and compartmentalized. Hence why social media is usually the place where nuance goes to die. But if we circle back to fashion, Carl Chaker wrote about this phenomenon in their book Filter World, How Algorithms Flattened Culture. To quote Kayla Marcy for their Substack Hot Garbage, Carl Chaker's book describes how social media has seeped into everyday life, giving rise to a monoculture. As algorithms prioritize popular and easy digestible content, anything niche, complex, or challenging is often buried, stifling innovation from artists and creators who refuse to fit these parameters. This has fueled uniformity in how we dress, as our For You pages are bombarded with aesthetics bearing cute names like Strawberry Girl, Coastal Cowgirl, or Office Siren. So the reason why this trend can so easily be deconstructed and critiqued by myself and others is because the male gaze is such a, for a lack of a better term, thick. It's such a thick and nuanced topic that it is impossible to compartmentalize into a 10-second TikTok. And when you do it, and you do it to the point where the algorithm rewards you for it, like, you know, dressing for the male gaze, dressing for the female gaze, you're going to have a bunch of, you know, people like me being like, this doesn't work. I don't like this. And this is why. Because again, I understand that the intentions are good. I get it. But something which is as nuanced as the male gaze, it cannot exist within a 10-second TikTok without it being critiqued, understandably, or it can't be, you know, portrayed in the right way, or maybe portrayed how you intended it to come across in a 10-second TikTok. Something which has really struck me about these TikToks is that these TikToks with, you know, dressing for the male gaze versus dressing for the female gaze is the outfit which is being portrayed as the superior option in multiple ways, right? It's being portrayed as the more feminist option. It's being portrayed as the option which is more true to yourself, but also, funnily enough, and Phoebe Taylor spoke about this in her video, is it's being portrayed as the more fashionable option. It's being portrayed as like, oh, no, you want to dress like this because it's more fashionable. Interesting. But I think something which really struck me about these, you know, dressing for the male gaze versus dressing for the female gaze TikToks is, guys, dressing for the male gaze is just dressing in 2020 trends, and dressing for the female gaze is just dressing in 2024 trends. And the reason why maybe you prefer these female gaze outfits is because they're trends that are current, that you like. And, you know, the trends of the male gaze are trends from 4 years ago that you no longer like. Like, that's what always gets me. And it's almost like there's this cognitive dissonance where, like, I'm like, how do you guys not see this? Like, I'm sorry, but, like, you know, because the thing is, I obviously described those outfits, but let me actually go a little more further into depth about what these outfits usually look like. The male gaze, it's usually one of those sort of AliExpress, like, little crop tops, because remember, crop tops used to be really, really trendy like 5-10 years ago. It'll be a crop top. It will then be a mini skirt, like one of those sort of flared mini skirts, maybe a denim mini skirt. It'll be like a pair of sort of knee-high chunky boots. Again, do you remember those naked wolf boots that were really trendy about 5 years ago? There'll be like a little mini handbag. There'll be some hair clips. There'll be like sunglasses. It's super 2020s Y2K. There is a very big difference between true Y2K and 2020s Y2K. You know, Y2K in the 2020s was huge. Like, that was like the trend. And now in sort of 2023, 2024, I'd probably say like the most dominant sort of at least the most dominant fashion trends within sort of TikTok fashion space was just Ganni, like Ganni core, but also like more modest ways of dressing were, you know, became more popular in sort of the mid 2020s, like quiet luxury, old money, even the clean girl aesthetic with like sort of activewear and athleisure is a more of a sort of modest way of dressing. A typical female gaze outfit is a very 2024 outfit. Like, I'm talking those Ganni shirts with the massive collars on and those ghastly wide leg leopard print jeans. I know, sorry. I cannot talk about fashion without talking about a fashion trend that I don't like, and it is those leopard print jeans. I hate them. But are we dressing for the female gaze, or are we just following contemporary fashion trends, which are leaning more modestly? And we have seen this modesty, more broadly. So we have Gorp core, quiet luxury, old money, the eclectic grandpa aesthetic, Ganni core, all of these trends really vary from one another, but they are a more modest way of dressing in comparison to, the 2020 Y2K trend, which was, very, very skimpy. And again, I want to make it clear that I understand where the dressing for the female gaze girlies are coming from. Women's oppression has bled out even to the way that we dress. The way that women dress, has been governed by the men in their lives, whether consciously or subconsciously, whether it's a man actually telling them what to wear, or whether it's us thinking in our heads when we're getting changed, but I want to dress for what a man would find attractive, whether that's a conscious thought or whether that is a subconscious thought. And women have historically been mocked, abused, oppressed if they do not conform to these rigid standards of femininity. It really is something that's really quite admirable how much women's fashion has progressed in the last 20 years. Like 20 years ago, it was the norm for women who worked in offices to wear heels to work. What? No, I can never. This is the thing. 20 years ago when, to be fair, I think it was when anyone wore trainers, but especially when women wore trainers, it was seen as scruffy. It was seen as unkempt, and now trainers have become really, a staple of, fashion culture. But in turn, dressing in skimpy, form-fitting outfits has not only been demonized, but it is being viewed as, you're dressing for the male gaze, which already, I think this idea of, are we dressing for the male gaze? Are we dressing for the female gaze? Can we ever unlearn the male gaze? Is truly, truly up for debate. Can we really consciously not dress for the male gaze? And if you are a woman who, and let's say you can, if you are a woman who prefers to wear skimpier clothing or more form-fitting clothing, does that mean that you haven't unlearned that? Can you truly dress for the female gaze if you have your tits out? Do you know what I mean? So in turn, dressing in more sort of skimpy, form-fitting, I guess feminine clothing, but I think a lot of modest clothing can still be very feminine, almost sort of like trad wifey, is sort of being demonized in this very niche corner of the TikTok fashion space. Like, guys, I am more than aware that as I make this episode that, I could play this episode to my mum and she'd have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. To be fair, I could talk about like male gaze versus female gaze fashion with most of my friends and they won't know what I'm talking about. This is major chronically online moment. Like, this is a major chronically online moment. But, this more sort of, I guess I'm just going to say skimpy way of dressing is now being demonized over on this very niche corner of the fashion TikTok space. Ah! Did you guys see that? I'm so sorry for anyone that's got headphones on. I promise, guys, she is good. She just acts up when she's filming because she wants to show off. Oh my God, her tail is wiggling around. Ah! She's so cute. So not only is dressing like this seen as, you're not dressing for yourself. You must be dressing for somebody else. You must be dressing for a man. You must be dressing for men. But it's also seen as less fashionable, which is crazy because, this is the thing, is that, with internalized male gaze theory, not only is that a theory in itself, but also whether you can actually unlearn it is also up for debate. And, I think that my take, and maybe this is like a little bit of like a, floaty sort of take. Maybe this is, no, that's not the right word. Maybe it's a little bit more of an optimistic take. But I think that although I agree with internalized male gaze theory, I do think that, whether we can unlearn it or not, I do think that as women, we do have the ability to dress for ourselves, even if we do have some sort of internalized male gaze going on in there. And look, maybe loads of you guys are going to disagree with me here, but I actually think it's a lot more of a peaceful way of living, is thinking, yeah, you know what, I am dressing for myself. I am dressing because I like this outfit, even though my trousers are really tight, Like, it's just a more peaceful way of living. Whether it's true or not, who knows, but it's more peaceful to go about my life thinking that I am dressing for myself and thinking that I'm not letting, an internalized male gaze or like the men in my life govern the way that I dress myself, especially when, it's not nice to, I think especially maybe I take it a little more personally, this sort of whole male gaze versus female gaze malarkey. Maybe I take it a little more personally because you guys know me here. I love fashion. I'm not huge on high fashion. Honestly, IDGAF, like I'm winning the IDGAF wars on, high fashion, apart from High Fashion by Addison Rae. A fantastic song. But I love fashion and I love dressing in a fun way and I love shopping secondhand vintage. I love shopping from small sustainable brands. Like it feeds me. It feeds me. And I don't want to go about my life thinking if I'm wearing a skimpier outfit, oh, am I doing this for a man? I'd rather just not really think about it at all. And again, I think it's important to question why we do what we do. And I think that I can see how dressing for the male gaze, dressing for the female gaze can help when someone feels like they are dressing in a certain way and it doesn't actually make them happy. Maybe they're dressing in a way that makes them uncomfortable. Maybe they're dressing in a way where they don't even like the clothes that they're wearing. They are genuinely just thinking about what men find attractive. Even I, obviously I haven't gone on a date in, sorry, there's someone hoovering outside my flat. As we know, I haven't gone on a date in ages, but when I do go on a date, I do think about, oh, what's more flattering? Oh, what's a man going to find attractive? I've got to unlearn that, girls. I've got to unlearn that. The love of my life won't care. I understand questioning why we do what we do. I understand how I guess social media trend of like dressing for the male gaze versus dressing for the female gaze could have really helped someone who actually felt like they were dressing just to impress men and, took control of their own fate and decided, no, I am going to dress for myself. I can especially see how this would help young women. And I do think that is good, but it is funny that when something is so left that it swings right. And we do see this quite often. And this is, essentially shaming women for dressing promiscuously, but make it feminist. And that is what this whole dressing for the male gaze, dressing for the female gaze is shaming women for dressing promiscuously, but in a feminist way. And again, we can question why we do what we do. And we can question, oh, am I wearing this because I like it, or am I wearing this because I think that it looks more attractive, or that it look more feminine, or that it's more flattering? One big way in which I think that as women sometimes we can, this is like a very, very old problem. This was like a problem back in 10 years ago when I used to go to house parties when I was 16, or go to the club when I was 19, go to the club in Hertfordshire when I was 19. And that is that, choosing to wear a little mini dress over a pair of trousers because I think that a mini dress is more flattering and more girly. And, I know the boys will like it. And to be fair, sometimes I wasn't even thinking about the boys. I was just thinking about, oh, a dress is more flattering. It's more girly. I like it more. But then going out in the blistering cold in a mini dress with no jacket, like an insane woman. I think we should be questioning ourselves there for sure. But also, we have leaned into shaming women for dressing promiscuously, but in a feminist way. And not just this, but it's we aren't just shaming women for dressing promiscuously. We're shaming people for dressing in old trends, in dressing in 2020s trends, accusing them of dressing for the male gaze. No, they were just dressing in the trends of the time. And again, it also bleeds out into the fact that we are shaming people for not being current and trendy, which is, I could get into this conversation another day, but that's an absolute, that is not good news for if you want to be satisfied with your shopping habits, if you are shaming people for dressing in old trends. Also, I don't think that the sort of female gaze, male gaze fashion discourse takes into account clothing looking different based on your body type. The same outfit can be perceived as the male gaze on one person who's a bit curvier, or the female gaze on someone else who's thinner. Do you see where we can start teetering into? We can essentially start perceiving someone as dressing for the male gaze just because they have large boobs, or they have wide hips, or they have a big bum. I think we can swing into policing women's bodies very quickly. I think we can actually even swing into sexualizing women's bodies very quickly and sexualizing the way that they're dressing. And it's the way that they're dressing isn't even necessarily sexual. It's just the way that their body looks. And this is coming from my own perspective as someone who I don't have massive boobs. Like I'm a 32D, if you guys want to know. But you know, I've got like bigger boobs, I've got wide hips, and like an outfit on myself versus someone who's like a size 4 to 6 is going to look completely different. Also, this trend completely rules out that dressing modestly can be for the male gaze. You know, dressing modestly definitely appeals and appeases a certain type of man. You know, like think about all the trad wife content and how modestly those women dress, but it's still in a very feminine way. To conclude this episode, because this has actually been really, really fun, I've loved yapping about this, is I understand where people are coming from, but I do think this is a symptom of people feeling like they need to moralize every single thing they do, but not necessarily moralize, but have a great justification for why they do the things that they do. And although I do definitely believe there is space within fashion to discuss as women what it is like to dress to appeal to a man versus to dress in clothes that we actually like in, because there really can, sometimes there isn't a difference, but also sometimes there is a small difference. Sometimes there's a really big difference, you know, and I think as women, it's really important to discuss that and discuss it openly to, you know, essentially embolden young women to start dressing for themselves and dressing in clothes that they actually like. You know, I feel like I always sound like a Debbie Downer in these videos, but it is one of those ones where I was like, oh God, guys, I don't think we should be shaming women who dress in like mini skirts and crop tops. Like we're beginning to sound a little crazy here, guys. We're beginning to sound a little right wing here, guys. But yes, I think that, again, I think a lot of it relates to, I think that people need to have a great justification for everything that they do. When really, sometimes we've changed the way that we dress because we feel more comfortable covering ourselves up, or sometimes we get more skin out as we get older. You know, we can't predict these things. You know, not everything has a reason, you know, or not everything has like a great social reason. But also sometimes things do. And I know that everything is connected, but also I think that the male gaze versus the female gaze, dressing for the male gaze versus the female gaze, I don't think was a particularly good example of that. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. This was so fun to record. Loved a little yap about that. If you guys do have any other topic suggestions, just let me know. And I will see you guys soon for the next episode. Bye!